When I first saw the house, I thought it was a dream come true. A two-story Victorian on the outskirts of town, just secluded enough to feel private, but close enough to work that the commute wouldn't be unbearable. The house was old, sure, but it had character, the kind of place that felt like it had stories hidden in its walls. I moved in a few weeks ago. It was just me, starting fresh after the divorce, and I figured a quiet house in the middle of nowhere was exactly what I needed. The first few days were normal, busy unpacking, arranging furniture, getting used to the creaks and groans of an old house. But on the fourth day, something strange happened. I'd been going over the blueprints of the house. Not because I'm some architect or anything, but because I like to know my space. I like to have a mental map of where everything is. The house was supposed to have 3 bedrooms, a kitchen, a dining room, a living room, and a study. Simple, straightforward. Except, it wasn't. I was walking down the second-floor hallway when I noticed it. A door. Just past the study, tucked in a corner where I hadn't seen it before. At first, I thought I'd simply missed it, maybe I hadn't explored as much as I thought I had. But then I remembered the blueprints. There wasn't supposed to be a room there. The door was plain, unremarkable. Just an old, wooden door with a brass knob that gleamed faintly in the dim light. I stood there for a while, hand hovering over the knob, trying to decide if I should open it. A weird feeling crept over me, a sort of unease that prickled the back of my neck, but I shook it off. It was just a door, right? No big deal. The room behind it was small, barely larger than a closet. The walls were bare, the floor old hardwood, and there were no windows. It was empty. Completely empty. For a moment, I was relieved. Nothing strange about a tiny storage room, right? But there was something odd about the air in there. It was cold, much colder than the rest of the house. I stepped inside briefly, then backed out quickly. Something felt wrong. Not just the cold, but the silence. It was the kind of quiet that pressed down on you, heavy and suffocating. I closed the door, not thinking much of it, and went back to unpacking. That night, I was lying in bed, just starting to drift off when I heard it. The sound of a door creaking open. My heart jumped into my throat as I sat up, straining to hear. The house was silent for a moment, but then I heard it again. The unmistakable sound of a door, slowly and deliberately opening. I grabbed my phone for light and made my way down the hall, the hardwood creaking beneath my feet. My hands were shaking, but I told myself it was just the wind, or maybe a draft. Old houses did that, right? But when I turned the corner, I saw it. That door, the one that wasn't supposed to exist, was open. It swung slightly, moving on its hinges as though someone had just stepped through it. I froze, staring at the dark opening. Something was wrong. The air was even colder now, and I could swear I heard a faint whisper, just out of earshot, coming from inside the room. I stepped forward, heart pounding, and pushed the door shut. This time, I locked it. Maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe it had been open all along, and I just hadn't noticed. I went back to bed, convincing myself it was nothing. But the next night, it happened again. And the night after that. Each time, the door was opened just a little wider, and each time, the air around it grew colder. The whispers became clearer, though I still couldn't make out the words. But it wasn't just whispers anymore, there was something else, a low, rumbling noise that I felt more than heard. Like the growl of something big, something that was waiting just beyond that doorway. I tried ignoring it. I tried telling myself it wasn't real, that it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But every night, it got worse. The door would open, and I'd close it. By the fourth night, I'd put a chair in front of it, trying to keep it shut. That didn't work. On the seventh night, I woke to the sound of splintering wood. The chair had been shoved aside, the door wide open. This time, though, the room wasn't empty. A shape loomed in the darkness, barely visible in the faint glow of the hallway light. It was tall, impossibly tall, its head brushing the ceiling. Its body was wrong, twisted, like a shadow stretched too thin. I couldn't see its face, but I could feel its eyes on me, cold and predatory. I didn't move. I couldn't. My feet felt glued to the floor as the thing stepped forward, slowly, deliberately. The whispering grew louder, frantic, like dozens of voices all speaking at once. But still, I couldn't make out what they were saying. The thing stood at the threshold, just outside the room, its presence filling the hallway. I felt the cold radiating off of it, biting into my skin, freezing me in place. And then it spoke. "You don't belong here." The voice was deep, guttural, like it was coming from somewhere far away. My body finally obeyed me, and I stumbled backward, slamming the door shut, locking it with trembling hands. That was 3 nights ago. Now, I sit here, in my living room, lights on, every door locked, but it doesn't matter. The door opens every night, no matter what I do. And every night, I feel that thing getting closer. Last night, I could hear it breathing, hear its footsteps as it moved through the hall, past the locked door of my bedroom. I don't know what it wants. I don't know why the room exists or what came out of it. But I can't stay here. I can't stay another night. I've packed my bags. I'm leaving. But part of me knows it won't matter. I'm not sure I can outrun whatever I've let out of that room. Because now, it's not just the door in the hallway. Last night, when I opened my eyes, there was another door in my bedroom. And this time, it was already open.